Grand Admiral Seung-ho stood on the bridge of the massive battleship called Retribution. Around him, the largest human fleet ever assembled waited in the darkness between stars. 2,000 ships, each one built with technology that the aliens couldn't even imagine. "All ships report ready," said his communications officer. "The other fleets are in position around the hegemony homeworlds." Today was the day humanity stopped hiding. After 6,000 years of secret preparation, they were finally going to show the galaxy what they had become. 5 simultaneous attacks on the 5 alien homeworlds. The enemy would learn that humans were not only alive, but stronger than ever. "Send the message," Seung-ho ordered. Across the galaxy, every communication device received the same broadcast. The image of diplomat Yu Jin appeared on billions of screens. She was clearly human, but different from the humans the aliens remembered. Taller, stronger, with eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. "People of the galaxy," Yu Jin said, her voice calm but filled with power. "You were told that humanity was destroyed 6,000 years ago. You were told that we were too dangerous to be allowed to live. You were lied to." The broadcast showed images from the alien prison camps. Humans in cages, children separated from their parents, scientists experimenting on people like they were animals. The galaxy watched in horror as the truth was revealed. "We survived," Eugen continued. "We adapted. We evolved. You sought to exterminate us for being too dangerous. You have created something infinitely worse. We are the children of the void, forged in the darkness between stars. We remember every world you burned, every life you took. We have returned for justice." As the message played, human fleets appeared around all 5 hegemony homeworlds simultaneously. The aliens' best sensors couldn't detect the ships until they wanted to be seen. Then suddenly the sky was full of dark vessels that seemed to bend light around them. At Terminus, the prison planet, Seung-ho's fleet dropped out of hyperspace like an avenging storm. The alien defenders had never seen ships like these. Human vessels that could phase in and out of normal space, making them impossible to target. Weapons that fired beams of pure energy that could cut through any known armor. "Launch the rescue pods," Seung-ho ordered. Hundreds of small ships shot toward the planet's surface. Inside each pod was a team of void children led by enhanced super soldier, Kyung-soo. These warriors had been specifically designed for this mission. They could survive in any environment, fight in zero gravity or crushing atmosphere, and their enhanced minds were linked together in a tactical network. Kyung-soo's pod crashed through the prison complex's shields like they weren't there. Human technology had learned to disrupt the quantum fields that powered alien defenses. As his team emerged from the wreckage, the prison guards opened fire with their most powerful weapons. The energy beams bounced off the humans' personal shields, without causing any damage. "Impossible," one of the bug guards chittered. "Nothing can resist our plasma cannons." Kyung-soo moved faster than the aliens could follow. His enhanced reflexes let him dodge their shots while his return fire cut through their armor like paper. Behind him, his team spread out to locate the human prisoners. Building 7 has the oldest captives, reported team member Ji-won through their mental link. Some of them have been here for over 3,000 years. Building 12 has the children, added another soldier named Hee-young. "They're scared but alive." The rescue operation was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human soldiers appeared and disappeared like ghosts, phasing through walls using quantum technology. They could teleport directly from building to building, gathering prisoners faster than the guards could react. In space above the planet, the battle was equally one-sided. Alien warships fired everything they had at the human fleet, but their weapons passed through the enemy ships like they weren't there. The humans were using dimensional phase technology, existing partially outside normal space. "Target the command ship," ordered the Quillix fleet admiral. "Concentrate all fire on their flagship." 1,000 alien weapons fired at Seung-ho's ship. The energy beams and missiles should have vaporized any vessel. Instead, they passed through empty space. The human ship had shifted into a parallel dimension for exactly 3 seconds, letting the attack pass harmlessly through. Then the humans fired back. The weapons that emerged from human ships were beyond alien understanding, reality anchors that prevented enemy ships from using their exotic physics. gravity wells that crushed entire squadrons, energy beams that ignored shields and armor entirely, striking directly at the quantum structure of matter itself. "This is impossible," the alien admiral said as his fleet was destroyed around him. "These weapons violate the basic laws of physics." "No," came a human voice over the communication channel. "We just learned laws that you never discovered. On the planet's surface, Kyungsu and his teams had liberated all 50,000 human prisoners. Many of them were too weak to walk after generations in captivity. Others had been driven half-mad by the experiments performed on them. But they were alive, and they were free. Transport pods are ready," Jiwon reported. "We can evacuate everyone within the hour." But Kyungsu had other plans. "Hee-young, plant the resonance charges around the prison complex. When we leave, I want this place to be a crater. The enhanced explosives would do more than just destroy the buildings. They would make the entire area uninhabitable for 1,000 years, a permanent monument to alien cruelty. No one would ever build another prison camp on this spot." As the last prisoners were evacuated, Kyung-soo stood in the empty command center of the alien complex. Around him, the bodies of guards who had chosen to fight rather than surrender. They had died quickly, more mercy than they had shown their human captives. "Justice," he said quietly, and activated the charges. The explosion could be seen from orbit. The entire prison complex vanished in a column of fire that reached into the sky. When the flames died down, nothing remained but a glass crater surrounded by twisted metal. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out at the other hegemony homeworlds. Human fleets appeared without warning, striking with weapons that the aliens had no defense against. Ancient orbital platforms that had once belonged to humans, corrupted and used against their creators, were destroyed or reclaimed. The alien governments tried to coordinate a response, but their communication networks had been infiltrated years ago. Human hackers fed them false information, sent their fleets to the wrong locations, and generally made sure that no effective defense could be organized. On the crystal world of the Vorthak, human ground forces moved through the cities like unstoppable forces of nature. The crystal beings tried to use their natural psychic abilities to confuse the invaders, but human minds had been shielded by quantum technology. Their mental attacks had no effect. "Surrender," demanded the human commander as crystal warriors fell around him. "Your weapons are useless against us. Your defenses mean nothing. Submit now and you will be treated according to the laws of war." Some aliens chose to surrender. Others fought to the death. The humans gave them the choice, which was more mercy than humanity had received 6,000 years ago. The war lasted exactly 72 hours. In 3 days, the mighty hegemony that had ruled the galaxy for millennia was broken. Their fleets were destroyed, their homeworlds occupied, their governments collapsed. But the most devastating blow wasn't military. It was psychological. The aliens had built their entire society on the belief that they were superior to humans. They had told themselves that destroying humanity was necessary for galactic peace. Now they discovered that not only had they failed to destroy humanity, they had created something far more dangerous than anything that had existed before. "We are not conquerors," Yujin announced in her final broadcast to the galaxy. "We are the children of those you tried to murder. We have returned not to rule you, but to ensure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else." The message was accompanied by offers of peace to any alien species that would renounce the hegemony and accept human oversight of galactic affairs. Many species, terrified by what they had witnessed, immediately agreed. Seung-ho stood on the bridge of his ship as it orbited the liberated terminus. Below, human medical teams were treating the rescued prisoners, many of whom were seeing the sky for the first time in their lives. "What happens now?" asked his tactical officer. "Now we rebuild," Seung-ho said. "We create a galaxy where no species has to fear being destroyed just for being different, and we prepare for the final journey." The final journey? Seung-ho turned to look at the stars, but his eyes were focused on one particular direction, toward the center of the galaxy, where a small yellow star waited with its family of planets. One of those planets was a burned, dead rock that had once been called Earth. "We're going home," he said. Fleet Commander Ji-hoon stood before the massive windows of his flagship, looking at the sight that no human had seen for 10,000 years. The Sol system stretched out before them, with its familiar planets arranged around the yellow star that had given birth to humanity. But it was different now. Mars was covered in alien structures. Jupiter's moons had been turned into mining stations. And Earth. Earth was a brown ball of dead rock, its oceans gone, its atmosphere thin and poisonous. "Sir," said his navigation officer, "we're receiving a signal from the alien defense platforms. They're ordering us to leave the system immediately." Ji-hoon almost smiled. "Tell them that humanity has come home. If they want to leave, now would be a good time." The largest human fleet in history had gathered for this moment. 10,000 ships carrying 50 million enhanced humans, all descendants of the 2 million refugees who had fled Earth so long ago. They had traveled across the galaxy, fought wars, built new worlds, and evolved into something greater than their ancestors ever dreamed possible. But they had never forgotten where they came from. Dr. Su Young worked frantically in her laboratory, aboard the science vessel Hope. As the fleet's chief terraforming specialist, she had studied every detail of what Earth had been like before the Great Burning. Her mission was to determine if their dead homeworld could ever live again. "The soil samples are more promising than expected," she told Ji-hoon during their briefing. "The alien bombardment sterilized the surface, but it didn't destroy the basic mineral structure. With our quantum restoration technology, we might be able to rebuild the entire ecosystem." "How long would it take?" Ji-hoon asked. "Centuries," Su Young admitted. "Maybe 1,000 years. But it can be done. Earth can live again." Philosopher warrior Wu Jin stood in the observation deck, watching their destination grow larger. Unlike the other enhanced humans, he spent most of his time thinking about the moral questions raised by their return. Were they liberators coming to free their homeworld? Or were they conquerors, no different from the aliens who had driven them out? The humans had become incredibly powerful during their exile. They could destroy entire star systems if they chose to. Did that make them the very monsters the aliens had feared? "Commander," came a voice over the communication system, "the alien defense fleet is moving to intercept us. 300 ships, all armed with weapons built from our own ancient technology." Ji-hoon felt a cold anger in his chest. The aliens hadn't just stolen their world. They had taken human technology and turned it against them. The orbital defense platforms that now protected Earth had been built by human hands 10,000 years ago, then corrupted by alien engineers. "All ships prepare for battle," he ordered. "But remember, those defense platforms were built by our ancestors. Treat them with respect even as we destroy them." The battle for Earth began at the edge of the solar system. Alien ships using corrupted, human technology faced off against true human vessels that had evolved far beyond anything their creators had imagined. It wasn't even close to a fair fight. The alien ships fired weapons that would have been impressive 10,000 years ago. But humanity had learned so much during their exile. Their ships phased through dimensions, their weapons rewrote the laws of physics, and their defenses made them nearly indestructible. "Target the command ship," ordered the alien fleet admiral, a Saurok reptile whose scales were covered in ritual scars. "Show these human ghosts that we are still the masters of this system." The concentrated fire of 50 alien warships struck Ji-hoon's flagship. For a moment, the ship was hidden in a cloud of explosive energy. Then the smoke cleared, revealing the human vessel completely undamaged. "Our turn," Ji-hoon said quietly. The return fire from the human fleet was precise and overwhelming. Alien ships simply vanished, disintegrated by weapons that attacked their targets on a quantum level. Within an hour, the entire enemy fleet was destroyed. But Ji-hoon took no pleasure in the victory. These aliens had been living in the Sol system for millennia. Some of them had been born here. In a strange way, this was their home too, even though they had stolen it. "Open a channel to all remaining alien forces in the system," he ordered. His image appeared on communication screens throughout the solar system. On Mars, in the asteroid belt, on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, aliens who had made this place their home watched as humanity announced its return. I am Fleet Commander Ji-hoon of the Terran Return Fleet, he said. 10,000 years ago, your ancestors drove my people from this system. Today we have come back. You have one choice: leave peacefully or be removed by force. The response was immediate and varied. Some alien colonies immediately began evacuating, their ships fleeing toward the outer galaxy. Others chose to fight, believing that their superior numbers would overcome the human technological advantage. They were wrong. The battle for Mars lasted 6 hours. Human dropships landed on the red planet's surface, while Void Children soldiers moved through the alien cities like unstoppable forces. The enhanced humans were perfectly adapted for the low gravity and thin atmosphere. The aliens, who had lived soft lives in climate-controlled domes, couldn't match their speed or strength. Wu Jin led one of the assault teams through the central city. As they moved past alien homes and schools, he felt the weight of what they were doing. These weren't soldiers or politicians. They were families who had lived here for hundreds of generations. "Commander," he said to Ji-hoon over the communication link, "are we sure this is justice? Some of these aliens have never seen any other world. Mars is their home now." "I know," Ji-hoon replied, "but Earth was our home first, and they chose to stay and fight instead of leaving peacefully." The moral complexity of the situation troubled many humans. They were the victims returning to reclaim what was stolen from them, but they were also incredibly powerful beings displacing weaker peoples who had lived here for millennia. The fighting ended when the last alien resistance collapsed on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. The enhanced humans had proven unstoppable in every environment. They could survive in hard vacuum, fight underwater, and adapt to any gravity or atmosphere. With the system secured, Su Young's teams began their most important work: the restoration of Earth itself. "The first step is atmospheric reconstruction," she explained to the assembled scientists. "We need to rebuild the oxygen levels and create a proper greenhouse effect. Our molecular assemblers can break down the toxic compounds and replace them with breathable air." The work would take centuries, but humans were patient now. They had waited 10,000 years to come home. They could wait a few more centuries to make it truly livable. Wu Jin stood on Earth's surface for the first time in his life, looking at the barren landscape where forests and cities had once stood. The ground was cracked and lifeless, the sky a sickly brown color. But already Su Young's machines were working to heal the damage. "Was it worth it?" he asked Ji-hoon, who stood beside him. 10,000 years of exile, becoming something our ancestors might not recognize just to stand on this dead rock? Ji-hoon picked up a handful of sterile dirt and let it run through his fingers. "Ask me again in 1,000 years, when this soil grows flowers and children play in green fields." Above them, human engineering teams were dismantling the alien structures that had been built on Earth's surface. Some of the technology would be preserved for study. The rest would be recycled into materials for the restoration project. The surviving aliens had been given a choice. They could accept integration into the new human-led galactic government, living as protected citizens with full rights. Or they could leave for distant galaxies where they could build new civilizations without human interference. Most chose to leave. The hegemony species had too much pride to accept human rule, even benevolent rule. Great Exodus ships carried millions of aliens toward the distant galaxy of Andromeda, where they could start over. "Let them go," Su Young said as she watched the last alien transport ships leave the solar system. "Maybe in 1,000,000 years, their descendants will learn to be better than their ancestors were." The first tree was planted in Earth's soil exactly 1 year after the liberation. It was a small oak sapling grown from genetic material preserved in the ancient archives. Su Young and Ji-hoon took turns with the ceremonial shovel while enhanced humans and rescued prisoners from the alien camps watched. "This tree will live for 1,000 years, Su Young said. "Its descendants will see Earth green again." As the years passed, more human fleets arrived from across the galaxy. The children of the void came home to help rebuild their ancestral world. Cities rose from the ruins, powered by clean fusion reactors and surrounded by growing forests. The enhanced Humans had become something new, adapted for life among the stars. But they still remembered their roots. They still carried the genetic memory of blue skies and green grass, of oceans full of life and winds that smelled of flowers. Wu Jin wrote the final entry in his journal as he watched the sun set over the growing forests of New Earth. We left as refugees driven from our home by fear and hatred. We returned as something greater, carrying justice in our hearts. The circle is complete, but the story is just beginning. Admiral Hyunwoo Park walked through the long hallway of the Galactic Council building. His boots made soft sounds on the smooth floor. The walls around him were made of strange crystal that glowed with blue light. He had walked this same path many times before, but today felt different. Today everything would change. Behind him walked Captain Yoonji Kim and Dr. Jin-Ho Lee. Yoonji carried a data pad with numbers that made her sick to read. Jin-Ho held a small device that contained information that would shock the entire galaxy. Both of them looked worried. They knew what Admiral Park was planning to do. The three humans reached the main council room. The door was huge, made of metal that came from a planet far away. It opened without sound, and they stepped inside. The room was bigger than a football field. In the center sat 12 giant chairs, each one made for a different alien race. The Velthari delegate sat in the first chair. He looked like a giant, bug with 6 arms and 4 eyes. His mouth parts clicked when he talked, making sounds like breaking sticks. Next to him sat the Nethys representative. The Nethys had no solid body. Instead, they were made of gas that changed colors when they moved. Other aliens filled the remaining chairs. Some had scales, others had fur. One looked like a walking tree with too many branches. Another was just a floating ball of light that spoke through a machine. All of them looked down at the 3 humans standing in the center of the room. Admiral Park had gray hair and lines on his face that came from years of making hard choices. He wore his military uniform with pride, but today it felt heavy on his shoulders. For 300 years, humans had served the Galactic Council. They had fought wars for these aliens. They had died for these aliens. And what did humans get in return? More orders to fight more wars. Admiral Park, said the Velthari delegate. His voice sounded like metal scraping on stone. You have requested this meeting. What do you want to discuss? Park looked up at the alien faces staring down at him. I want to talk about the Kepler. Offensive, he said. His voice was calm, but inside he felt angry. The floating ball of light flickered. The Kepler offensive was necessary for galactic peace, it said through its speaker. Necessary? Captain Yoonji stepped forward. We lost 3 entire fleets, that's 50,000 human soldiers dead. The gas creature, Nethys, changed from blue to purple. The sacrifice of lower species is expected for the greater good, it said. Dr. Jin-Ho felt his hands shake. Lower species, that's what they called humans. After 3 centuries of loyal service, after all the blood humans had spilled for the Council, they were still just lower species. Show them, Admiral Park said to Dr. Jin-Ho. Jin-Ho activated his device. A hologram appeared in the air above them. It showed star maps, battle plans, and genetic data. I have been studying Council records for 20 years, Jin-Ho said. I found something terrible. The aliens leaned forward in their chairs. Even they seemed interested. Every major battle in the last century, Jin-Ho continued, humans were sent to fight enemies that the Council knew we could not defeat. Every time our losses were much higher than they told us. Every time these battles helped the Council in ways they never explained. The hologram changed to show genetic information. But that's not the worst part, Jin-Ho said. I discovered that humans are not what you think we are. Our genetic code is more complex than any species in this room. We adapt faster. We learn quicker. We are not a lower species at all. Silence filled the huge room. The only sound was the soft humming of the crystal walls. The tree-like alien spoke with a voice like wind through leaves. Even if this is true, the Council's authority must be maintained. Authority? Admiral Park's voice got louder. You mean your control over us? The Velthari delegate clicked his mouth parts faster. Humans exist to serve the greater galactic community. That is your purpose. No, said Captain Yunji. Our purpose is to live free and equal with all other intelligent life. The gas creature turned red. Equality is earned, not given. Humans have not earned it. Dr. Jinho laughed, but it was not a happy sound. We have not earned it. We have fought your wars for 300 years. We have bled and died for civilizations that see us as nothing more than tools. What more do we need to do to earn your respect? Respect is not the issue, said the floating light. Order is the issue. The galaxy needs order. Admiral Park felt something break inside his chest. He had spent his whole life believing that the Council was good. He had believed that humans were part of something bigger and better, but now he saw the truth. They were not partners. They were not even allies. They were slaves with fancy uniforms. He reached up and unpinned the Council symbol from his uniform. It was a small metal badge that showed the unity of all galactic species. He had worn it with pride for 40 years. Now it felt like poison in his hand. 300 years ago, Park said, humans joined the Galactic Council because we believed in peace among the stars. We believed in working together with other intelligent life. We believed that all species could be equal partners in exploring the universe. He held up the badge and looked at it. But you never saw us as partners. You saw us as servants. You saw our willingness to help as weakness. You saw our desire for peace as stupidity. The aliens began to make worried sounds. The Velthari clicked faster. The gas creature swirled in angry patterns. They could sense what was coming. Today that ends, Admiral Park said. He dropped the badge. It made a small ringing sound when it hit the floor. Earth hereby withdraws from the Galactic Council effective immediately. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Aliens shouted in dozens of different languages. Lights flashed. The crystal walls hummed louder. Park raised his voice above the noise. Any attempt to enforce Council authority over human space will be considered an act of war. The Velthari delegate stood up from his massive chair. You cannot do this. The Council will not allow it. The Council, said Admiral Park, no longer has any authority over humanity. He turned and began walking toward the door. Captain Yunji and Dr. Jinho followed him. Behind them, the aliens continued to shout and threaten. As they reached the door, the floating light called out, You will regret this, Admiral. The galaxy is a dangerous place for those who stand alone. Park stopped and looked back one last time. We would rather face danger as free beings than live safely as slaves. The three humans walked out of the chamber. The door closed behind them with a soft sound. In the hallway they could still hear the aliens arguing and shouting. What happens now? Asked Captain Yunji. Admiral Park straightened his uniform. Even without the Council badge, he still looked proud. Now we go home and prepare for war, because they will come for us. They will try to force us back into submission. Are you sure we can win? Asked Dr. Jinho. Park smiled for the first time in months. I'm sure we can try, and sometimes trying is enough. As they walked back through the crystal hallway, none of them looked back. Behind them, the Galactic Council faced its first real challenge in 1,000 years. Ahead of them, humanity faced an uncertain future. But for the first time in 3 centuries, that future belonged to them alone. 6 months had passed since Admiral Park walked out of the Council chambers. The galaxy watched and waited to see what humans would do next. Most alien species expected Earth to quietly return to the Council, asking for forgiveness. They were wrong. Fleet Admiral Sujin Choi stood on the bridge of the battleship Determination. She had been Admiral Park's student many years ago. Now she commanded humanity's largest space fleet. Through the main window, she could see the planet New Sol spinning slowly in the darkness of space. New Sol was a human colony that had been taken by the Council 6 months ago. The Council said they were protecting it from dangerous rebels. But everyone knew the truth. They were punishing humans for leaving the Council. Admiral, said Commander Kitae-John, our ships are in position around the planet. Sujin nodded. She had brought 50 ships to liberate New Sol. The Council had twice as many ships defending it. In any normal battle, humans would lose badly, but this would not be a normal battle. "Begin the operation," she said. The human ships moved forward. They were smaller than Council ships, but they moved much faster. As they got closer to the planet, the Council ships opened fire. Bright beams of energy shot through space, but they missed their targets. The human ships were too quick. Something strange happened next. The Council weapons, which should have destroyed human ships easily, did nothing at all. The energy beams hit human shields and simply disappeared. It was like the weapons could not see the human ships. "How is this possible?" asked the Velthari commander on one of the Council ships. Engineer Tai-Ho Sung watched the battle from his command center on Earth. He smiled as he saw the confused alien ships. For 200 years, humans had been secretly developing new technology. They had learned to make their ships invisible to Council weapons. They had built engines that worked differently from anything aliens had ever seen. "Phase 2, Tai-Ho said into his communicator. Around New Sol, space began to change. Suddenly, hundreds of new human ships appeared from nowhere. They had been hidden by the same technology that made human weapons invisible. The Council fleet was now outnumbered 3-1. The battle lasted only 2 hours. When it ended, every Council ship was either destroyed or captured. Not a single human ship was lost. The aliens could not understand what had happened. On the planet's surface, human soldiers walked through the streets of New Sol's capital city. The people cheered and cried with joy. Children ran up to hug the soldiers who had freed them. Captain Myung-Soo-Won led the ground forces. He found the Council governor hiding in his office. The governor was a gas creature like the Nethys. He floated near the ceiling, changing colors rapidly with fear. "How did you do this?" the governor asked. "Your weapons should not work against our shields." Captain Wan looked up at the frightened alien. "Maybe you don't know humans as well as you thought." News of the victory spread quickly through the galaxy. On Earth, crowds gathered in the streets to celebrate. But Admiral Park was not celebrating. He knew this was just the beginning. In his office, Park met with Ambassador Hai Young-nam. She had once worked to keep peace between humans and the Council. Now she had a new job. "The smaller species are very interested in what we did at New Sol," she told Park. "Many of them have suffered under Council rule for centuries. They want to know if we would help them too." Park looked at the star map on his wall. Red dots showed Council-controlled space. Blue dots showed human colonies. Green dots showed species that might become allies. There were more green dots than he had expected. "Contact the Cathera first," Park said. "They have always been fair to humans." The Cathera were an old species that looked like large lizards with intelligent eyes. They had ruled a small empire for thousands of years. Unlike other Council members, they had never treated humans badly. Ambassador Nam contacted Cathara Space. Within days, she received a message from their High Council. The message was simple but important. "The young species sees what the old have forgotten. Strength shared freely is greater than power hoarded jealously." It was the first time any alien government had publicly supported humanity's break from the Council. Dr. Jin-Ho Lee continued his research in his laboratory on Earth. The genetic information he had discovered was even more amazing than he had first thought. Humans were not just different from other species, they were uniquely special. "Look at this," he said to his assistant, Dr. Hae-Young Park. "Human genetic diversity is incredible. We can adapt to almost any environment. We can learn any skill. We can work with any other intelligent species." "But why are we so different?" asked Dr. Park. Jin-Ho stared at the genetic codes on his screen. "I think humans evolved differently because Earth was more dangerous than other worlds. We had to adapt quickly or die. Other species evolved on safer planets, so they became more specialized. And now that genetic diversity makes us natural leaders. We can understand and work with species that cannot understand each other." Meanwhile, in hidden shipyards throughout human space, something amazing was happening. Engineer Tai-Ho Sung oversaw the construction of new warships that were larger and more powerful than anything in the galaxy. These shipyards had been built in secret over 2 centuries. They were hidden in dead solar systems where no one would, look for them. Council sensors could not detect them because they use the same hiding technology as human ships. "How many ships can we build?" asked Admiral Park during a visit to the largest shipyard. 1,000 new ships every month," Tejo replied. "And each ship is more advanced than anything the Council has." Park looked out at the massive construction facility. Robots and human workers built ships day and night. The ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time. They would give humanity the power to defend itself against the entire galaxy if necessary, but Park hoped it would not come to that. Ambassador Nam's work with other species was showing promise. More and more governments were beginning to question the Council's authority. The Kythra were the first to openly support humanity, but they were not the last. The Stellar Wanderers, a peaceful species that traveled between stars in large ships, announced that they would trade with humans instead of the Council. The Crystal Singers, beings made of living mineral, said they would share their technology with anyone who treated them as equals. Each new alliance made the Council more angry and more desperate. They began to make threats against any species that cooperated with humans, but the threats only made more species angry at the Council. On the Council station, emergency meetings happened every day. The alien leaders could not agree on what to do about the human problem. Some wanted to attack Earth immediately. Others wanted to try to negotiate. A few even suggested that maybe humans had good reasons for leaving. The Velthari delegate, who had been there when Admiral Park left, was the most angry. "Humans are a disease that will spread through the galaxy if we do not stop them now," he said. But the ancient protectors, the oldest species in the Council, were more thoughtful. "Perhaps," said their representative, "we should ask ourselves why so many species are choosing to support the humans. Perhaps we should examine our own actions." The gas creature Nethys swirled with angry red colors. "Our actions have brought peace to the galaxy for 1,000 years. "Yes," said the ancient protector, "but peace built on fear is not true peace. It is only delayed war." As the months passed, more human colonies were liberated. Each victory showed that humans had been hiding their true capabilities for centuries. They had better weapons, better ships, and better strategies than anyone had imagined. But most importantly, they had something the Council had forgotten how to use: the ability to inspire others to fight for freedom instead of fear. The galaxy was changing, and the Council could not stop it. The question was no longer whether humans would win their freedom. The question was whether the rest of the galaxy would choose to be free as well. The galaxy was burning. What had started as humanity's rebellion against the Council had grown into the largest war anyone could remember. Species that had been allies for centuries now fought each other across thousands of star systems. General Minho Kang stood in the command center of his flagship, watching the battle unfold on the main screen. In front of him, massive Velthari bioships moved through space like living creatures. Each ship was the size of a small moon, covered in armor that looked like insect shells. "They're trying to surround us again," said Colonel Jaewon Kim, his tactical officer. Minho studied the enemy formation. The Velthari always fought the same way. They used their huge ships to overpower smaller forces. It had worked for them for thousands of years. But Minho had learned something important. Bigger was not always better. "Signal the fleet," he said. "Execute Plan Wasp." The human ships suddenly broke apart into smaller groups. Instead of fighting the bioships directly, they darted between them like angry wasps around giants. The Velthari weapons were too slow to track the fast human ships. "Target their nerve centers," Minho ordered. Each bioship had a central nervous system that controlled everything. The human ships fired precise shots at these weak points. One by one, the massive Velthari vessels stopped moving, floating helplessly in space. The Battle of Proxima Gate lasted only 6 hours. When it ended, humanity had destroyed an entire Velthari war fleet without losing a single ship. General Minho's new tactics were already being copied by human forces throughout the galaxy. But the war was not just about space battles. On the planet Kepler 442, the ground war had been raging for months. The Council forces controlled the cities while human rebels held the countryside. Captain Yuri Han led a special unit deep behind enemy lines. Her soldiers moved through the thick forests of Kepler 442, avoiding Council patrols. Their mission was to capture the planet's main communication center. Remember, Yuri told her team, we're not just fighting for ourselves. Every human colony is watching this battle. If we win here, it will give them hope. Her team included soldiers from many different parts of Earth. There was Private Dong-Soo Park from Korea, Sergeant Maria Santos from Brazil, and Corporal Ahmed Hassan from Egypt. They spoke different languages and came from different cultures, but they worked together perfectly. This diversity was something the Council species could not understand. Most alien races came from single planets with uniform cultures. They had trouble working with beings who were different from themselves. But humans had always been diverse, and that diversity made them stronger. The attack on the communication center happened at dawn. Council guards were surprised to see human soldiers appearing from 6 different directions at once. The battle was over in minutes. Within hours, human rebels across the planet were coordinating their attacks using the captured equipment. In the core systems, where the oldest and most powerful Council species lived, Captain Yuri Han commanded humanity's most advanced warship. The UES Indomitable was unlike any ship ever built. It used technology that even humans did not fully understand. Captain, said Engineer Wu Jinbei, we're detecting 3 Council fleets approaching our position. Yuri looked at the sensor readings. 150 enemy ships were coming toward them. Her ship was alone, outnumbered 150 to 1. Any sane commander would have retreated immediately. Take us forward, she ordered. Ma'am, asked her first officer, Lieutenant Sujin-Oh. You heard me. Take us toward them. The Indomitable moved forward to meet the enemy fleets. As they got closer, Yuri activated her ship's secret weapon. The quantum drive that powered the ship could do more than just move them through space. It could change the nature of space, itself. Reality bent around the Indomitable. Enemy weapons fired but missed even when they were aimed perfectly. Council ships tried to ram the human vessel but passed right through it like it was a ghost. The human ship existed in normal space, but also somehow outside it. Yuri's crew worked with perfect coordination. Her weapons officer, Petty Officer, Min-jae Lee fired precisely targeted shots that disabled enemy ships without destroying them. Her pilot, Ensign Ye-Jin Cho, moved the ship through impossible angles that should not have been possible. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, all 3 Council fleets had surrendered. 1 human ship had defeated 150 alien vessels. The news spread through the galaxy like wildfire, but the war's most important discovery happened far from any battlefield. Dr. Sung-Min Yu was a physicist working in a secret laboratory on the moon. He had been studying captured Council technology, trying to understand how their faster-than-light communication worked. I've found something incredible, he told Admiral Park during a secure video call. What is it? Park asked. The Council's communication network uses quantum entanglement to send messages instantly across the galaxy. But the system has a weakness. If you know the right frequencies, you can not only intercept their messages, you can change them. Park leaned forward in his chair. Are you saying we can read their battle plans? Better than that. Dr. Yu smiled. We can write their battle plans. Within weeks, human intelligence officers were feeding false information to Council commanders. Enemy fleets would arrive at empty star systems, expecting to find human forces that were actually hundreds of light years away. Council generals would receive orders to attack their own allies. The confusion this caused was devastating to the Council war effort, but it also led to something unexpected. Cultural anthropologist Bo-Ram Jung was studying ancient galactic history when she discovered references to a species called the Ancients. According to the oldest records, the Ancients had ruled the galaxy millions of years before the current Council existed. They're still alive, she told Admiral Park during a briefing. I think they're watching this war. Where are they? Park asked. Everywhere and nowhere. They exist in a dimension parallel to ours. They can see us, but we can't see them unless they want us to. Bo-Ram had spent months trying to contact the Ancients. She used mathematics, music, and art to send messages into the dimensional void. Finally, she received an answer. The ancient who appeared in her laboratory looked like pure energy shaped into the form of a tall, elegant being. When it spoke, its voice sounded like starlight. "We have been watching your species," the ancient said. "You are interesting. Why have you hidden for so long?" Boram asked. "Because the galaxy was not ready for us to return." The council became rigid, unchanging. They stopped growing and learning. But humans are different. The ancient explained that the previous galactic civilization had fallen for the same reasons the current council was failing. They had become too concerned with control and not enough with growth. "Your species represents something we have not seen in 1,000,000 years, the ancient continued. "The ability to change and adapt while still maintaining your core values. The ability to unite diversity instead of demanding conformity." This conversation changed everything. When news spread that the ancients supported humanity, smaller species throughout the galaxy began to reconsider their loyalties. The ethereal drifters, beings made of living energy who wandered between stars, announced they would help humanity. The Stone Wardens, a species that had turned their entire planet into a fortress, opened their borders to human refugees. The Crystal Singers began teaching humans their technology of making music that could reshape matter. Each new alliance made the council more desperate. Some council species began to wonder if they were fighting on the wrong side. The Cathara had already declared for humanity. Now the Aquatic Harmony, a species of intelligent ocean dwellers, said they would no longer support council operations in their space. The hive minds of Sector 7, who had always been neutral, began trading with human colonies, but the council still had powerful allies. The Velthari remained loyal, as did the gas-based Nethys and the machine-like constructors. These species had benefited greatly from the old system and would not give up their power easily. The war entered its third year with no clear winner. Battles raged across half the galaxy. Some star systems changed hands multiple times. Refugee. Ships fled from war zones carrying billions of civilians to safety. But something important was happening beneath the surface of the conflict. The galaxy was dividing not just into council and human sides, but into those who believed in the old ways and those who wanted something new. More and more, species were choosing sides based not on fear or tradition, but on hope for a better future. They saw in humanity something they had forgotten they could be: free, diverse and strong because of that diversity, rather than despite it. The council leaders met in emergency session after emergency session, but they could not agree on how to stop the human rebellion from spreading. Some wanted to negotiate, others demanded total war. A few began to wonder if maybe the humans were right about some things. As the third year of war ended, it was clear that the galaxy would never be the same. The question was no longer whether humanity would win its freedom. The question was what kind of galaxy would emerge from the ashes of the old order.